ladies and gentlemen, dreamers, every day, millions wake up with dreams in their hearts, ambitions in their eyes, and a desire to make life better. But let's face it, only 2% truly succeed. The other 98%, they settle. They stop. They make excuses. So what separates the 2% from the 98%? Every single day, people around the world wake up with ambition burning inside of them. They talk about their goals. They tell their friends about their plans. They write down visions in journals, paste images on vision boards, and tell themselves, one day I'm going to make it. But saying it is not enough. Dreaming is not enough. Wishing is not enough. But what separates the 2% who succeed from the 98% who don't isn't intelligence or background or connections. The 2% succeed because they decide. That's it. That's where it all begins. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for clarity. They don't wait for the economy to improve or the right person to come along or the perfect moment to appear. They understand something vital. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. The 2% make a conscious, clear, and firm decision that they are going to rise. They make the decision to burn the boats, cut the excuses, and commit to the long, brutal road of discipline and sacrifice. They say to themselves, this is it. This is who I am now. There's no turning back. On the other hand, the 98% delay. They hesitate, they overthink, they want more information, more certainty, more security. They wait for everything to line up before they take a step forward. And by the time they finally feel ready, the opportunity has passed them by. They are trapped in a loop of hesitation, hoping life will magically hand them the green light. But life doesn't work that way. The ones who succeed take action long before they feel prepared. They leap and trust that the wings will grow on the way down. The decision to change your life is not a soft whisper. It's not a gentle nudge. It's a roar. It's a line drawn in the sand. It's the internal declaration that says, I will not live another day like this. The 2% make that decision, and they make it loudly. They choose progress over perfection. They choose movement over paralysis. They stop dipping their toes in the water of potential and dive in head first. And once they do, they don't look back. Georgebernardshaw once said, people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. That is the power of decision. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait to be picked. You pick yourself. You choose your life, and then you build it. The moment you make a real decision, everything changes. You start walking differently. You start speaking differently. Your energy shifts. The universe itself seems to respond to someone who has made up their mind. But decision isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily thing. You don't just decide once and expect miracles to happen. You wake up every day and decide again. When you're tired, you decide. When you're doubting yourself, you decide. When everything is falling apart, you decide. But let's be real. Making that kind of decision takes guts. It takes courage to commit to something with no guarantees. It takes courage to step into the unknown, to embrace the possibility of failure, to risk embarrassment, judgment, and discomfort. But that's exactly why the 2% are rare. They're not afraid of discomfort. They're not waiting for someone to save them. They've already accepted that success is going to cost them something: time, energy, comfort, maybe even friends or relationships. But they pay the price without flinching, because the decision has already been made. The 98% stay stuck because they think they're making decisions, but they're really just making wishes. There's a huge difference. A wish sounds like, I hope I can start my business this year. A decision sounds like, I'm launching my business this year no matter what. A wish says, maybe I'll start waking up early to work on my goals. A decision says, I'm setting my alarm for 5 a.m. starting tomorrow, and I will not hit snooze. That's the difference. One is soft and passive. The other is firm and active. Decide to be the kind of person who finishes what they start. Decide to keep going when it gets hard. Decide to push through the fear, the doubt, the fatigue. Decide to write your own story instead of reading everyone else's. You will never be more ready than you are now. You will never feel more certain than this moment. The people who made it weren't more talented and just made the decision earlier and stuck with it longer. Your life changes the moment you decide it will, not when you talk about it, not when you hope for it, when you decide. And when you decide, truly decide, you don't need a backup plan, because failure is no longer an option. So don't wait. Decide today, right now, and don't look back. That's what the 2% do, and that's why they win. Success isn't the result of dabbling in dozens of things. It's the result of ruthless, laser-sharp focus. It's about locking your eyes on a goal and not looking away. No matter how many distractions call your name, the people who succeed, the 2%, are not necessarily more talented, more educated, or more fortunate. They simply know how to focus. They know how to commit to one thing and give it everything they've got. The 98%, they dabble. They start one thing, get bored, start another, get discouraged, and keep repeating that cycle over and over again. They are busy being busy, but never truly productive. They confuse movement with progress. But movement without direction is just chaos. The 2% don't just work hard. They work hard in the right direction. They have clarity. They know what they want, and they structure their lives around it. They say no to things that don't align with their mission. They don't chase every new trend, every shiny object, every new idea that promises overnight success. They aren't constantly changing course just because something got difficult or because they saw someone else doing something that looked easier. They commit, they focus, and they follow through. You see, we live in a world overflowing with distractions. Social media, constant notifications, endless entertainment, and 1,000 options pulling you in every direction. The 98% allow themselves to be ruled by these distractions. They start their day checking messages and notifications, already letting the world dictate their energy and priorities. They go wherever the wind blows and wonder why they're exhausted but not fulfilled. But the 2%, they start their day on purpose, with intention. They protect their time like it's gold, because it is. They don't let outside noise steer them away from their inner mission. They understand that where your attention goes, your life flows. Focus is not just about time management, it's about energy management. You only have so much energy each day. The 2% are deliberate about where they spend it. They ask themselves, Is this helping me move forward? Is this aligned with my goals? Is this worth my time? If the answer is no, they let it go. They don't spread themselves thin. They don't try to please everyone. They don't try to be everything to everyone. They are obsessed with doing a few things well, rather than trying to do everything halfway. The 98% dabble because they're afraid of going all in. Going all in means risking failure. It means putting your name on something and owning it. That's scary. But the 2% understand that dabbling is more dangerous than failing. Dabbling gives the illusion of effort while robbing you of real results. It's a trap disguised as productivity. The truth is, you cannot master anything by giving it part-time effort. Mastery requires obsession. It requires total immersion. If you want to become excellent at anything, whether it's business, art, leadership, health, or relationships, you must give it focused, relentless, undivided attention over time. The world doesn't reward scattered energy. It rewards deep work, commitment, and clarity. Think about the most successful people in the world. Do they try to do everything? No, they do one thing, and they do it better than anyone else. Steve Jobs once said, "People think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on." But that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas. The 2% say no more than they say yes. They say no to comforts, to distraction, to multitasking, to short-term pleasure, so they can say yes. Here's the truth. Focus is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Like a muscle, it grows stronger the more you use it. The first few times you sit down to work without checking your phone, it'll feel hard. The first few times you say no to a tempting but off-course opportunity, it'll sting. But the more you do it, the clearer your mind becomes, the more momentum you build, and the more you start to see real progress, real results that actually change your life. The 2% don't just focus on tasks. They focus on growth. They ask, what is the one thing I can do today that will move me closer to my goal? Then they do it every single day. They don't need to do 50 things. They do the right thing again and again and again. That's how empires are built. That's how legends are made. If you look at someone you admire, someone who's crushing it, and you wonder how they got there, the answer is almost always the same. Consistent, focused effort over time. Not genius, not luck, not shortcuts, just raw focus, repeated daily. And if you want to be one of the few, if you want to rise above the noise and mediocrity, you have to learn the art of deep, unshakable focus. You have to train your mind to stay on course when everyone else is drifting. You have to learn to ignore the noise and listen to your inner voice. You have to trade the short-term dopamine hit of distraction for the long-term reward of discipline. It's not easy, but it's worth it, because the people who change the world, the ones who live their dreams, the ones who wake up fulfilled, they are not the ones who tried everything. They're the ones who picked one thing and gave it everything. Most people want to grow, but very few are willing to pay the price that growth demands. The 2% who succeed understand something the rest don't. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the path. Growth is uncomfortable. Success is brutal. The process of becoming something greater than you are today will stretch you, break you, test you, and humble you. But that's the point. There's no breakthrough without breaking. The 98% avoid pain at all costs. They retreat when things get hard. They back down when discomfort shows up. But the 2% lean into it. They embrace it. They see struggle as their teacher, not their punishment. You cannot grow while remaining comfortable. That's not how life works. Every major transformation, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, comes with pressure, with resistance, with moments of intense doubt. The people who rise to greatness are not the ones who avoid these moments. They're the ones who endure them. They're the ones who choose to keep moving when everything inside them is screaming to stop. They understand that the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. So they take the pain today to avoid the regret tomorrow. The truth is, we live in a world that encourages ease. Everywhere you look, someone is trying to sell you convenience, shortcuts, hacks, and instant results. But real success doesn't come in a bottle, a click, or a weekend seminar. It comes in the early mornings when no one's watching. It comes in the late nights when everyone else has gone to bed. It comes in the quiet moments when you want to quit, but you don't. That's when success is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where only grit and commitment live. The 98% stop when they hit resistance. They take discomfort as a sign that maybe it's not meant to be. They think if it hurts, it must be wrong. But the 2%, they expect it to hurt. They welcome the struggle. They know that every rep in the gym that burns, every late night working on their business, every failed attempt that stings their pride, that's where the real growth is happening. It's not glamorous, it's not pretty, but it's real, and it's worth it. There's a kind of pain that sharpens you, that builds something in you that comfort never could. That's the kind of pain the 2% seek. They don't chase suffering for its own sake, but they understand that on the other side of pain is power. On the other side of exhaustion is strength. On the other side of fear is freedom. You can't skip over it. You have to go through it. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're unwilling. They're unwilling to suffer, unwilling to be judged, unwilling to be misunderstood, unwilling to be the beginner, to fall flat on their face, to be embarrassed, to work for years with no applause. The 2% take all of that. They eat it. They turn it into fuel because they know that pain is not permanent, but quitting is. Pain is the price of progress. It's the toll you pay to cross the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. There's no other way across. You either face it or stay stuck. The 2% know this. They don't run from the grind. They respect it. They don't complain when it gets hard. They expect it. And while the 98% are wishing life were easier, the 2% are getting tougher. Look at every hero you admire, every success story you've ever been inspired by. There's always pain in the journey. Always. And what makes the story great isn't that they avoided it. It's that they walked through it and came out stronger. Think of it like fire. Most run from it. But the blacksmith uses it to shape steel. The 2% allow the fire to shape them. They trust that the heat of hardship is forging something greater in them, something deeper, character, resilience, perspective. When things get hard, the 98% start questioning everything. They ask, why me? But the 2% ask, what is this teaching me? They don't see pain as a curse, they see it as a classroom. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes a tool. They grow thicker skin, stronger hearts, clearer minds, and eventually they become unshakable, not because life got easier, but because they got stronger. And it's not just about enduring pain. It's about using it. The 2% take their struggles and turn them into strategy. They use heartbreak to build empathy. They use rejection to build resilience. They use every no to fuel their next move. They take what was meant to break them and turn it into the very thing that builds them. If you want to rise, you have to suffer a little, maybe even a lot. You have to be willing to pay a price most aren't willing to pay. You have to say no to comfort and yes to challenge. And when you're tired and sore and doubting everything, you have to keep going anyway. That's what separates the few from the many, the committed from the curious, the elite from the average. So don't pray for the pain to go away. Pray for the strength to endure it. Pray for the clarity to learn from it. And pray for the courage to walk through it. Because on the other side of pain, there is a version of you waiting that you haven't even met yet. Stronger, smarter, sharper, ready to claim the life you always dreamed of. That's the version the 2% live for. The 2% who succeed in life do something the other 98% refuse to do. They take full responsibility for everything, not just the things they control, not just the moments that go well, everything, even the pain, even the failure, even the mess. They don't make excuses. They don't shift blame. They don't point fingers at their parents, the system, the government, the economy, or their past. They stand up, look life in the face, and say, if it's to be, it's up to me. That mindset is rare, it's powerful, and is what separates the winners from the quitters. 98% are stuck in a cycle of blaming and complaining. Something doesn't go their way, and immediately they look outward. They say, I would have succeeded, but the timing wasn't right. Or I couldn't make it because nobody supported me. Or the world is just unfair. And maybe they're right. Maybe it is unfair. Maybe they did have it harder than others. But here's the brutal truth. None of that changes the outcome. Life doesn't care whose fault it is. Life only responds to action. The moment you hand responsibility to someone else, you also hand over your power. And once your power is gone, your life no longer belongs to you. The 2% understand that responsibility equals power. The more responsibility they accept, the more control they gain over their future. They don't wait for someone else to fix things. They become the solution. They own their decisions, their outcomes, their mistakes, and even their reactions. When things fall apart, they don't ask, whose fault is this? They ask, what can I do now? That shift in thinking makes all the difference. It transforms them from victims of their circumstances into creators of their destiny. Most people don't want that level of accountability because it's heavy. It's uncomfortable to admit you could have done more. It's painful to look in the mirror and realize the person responsible for where you are is staring right back at you. But that's where freedom begins. That's where growth starts. The moment you say, no one is coming to save me, I have to do this myself, your life begins to change. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's ever gone wrong. It means recognizing your ability to respond, to choose your reaction, to adapt, to overcome, to move forward with clarity and strength, even when life deals you a bad hand. It's not about fault. It's about ownership. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control what you do next. And the 2% take control, even when it hurts. Think about it. How much time do people waste complaining about things they can't change? How much energy is spent pointing fingers, waiting for others to change, hoping someone will come along and make everything better? Meanwhile, the 2% are doing the hard work. They're waking up early. They're reading, learning, grinding, pushing. They're building while others are blaming. And when things don't work out, they adjust. They don't whine. They don't sulk. They regroup and move forward. Life will always test you. It will give you every reason to quit, every excuse to stop, every justification to stay small. And the 98% take the bait. They fall back into the trap of blaming the world. But the 2% refuse. They know that nobody is coming. They know that responsibility isn't a burden, it's a weapon. It's the mindset of warriors, of champions, of leaders. They don't look outside for permission. They take initiative. They own their goals, their failures, their habits, their reactions, everything. When you take full responsibility, you stop waiting. You stop wishing. You stop hoping someone else will come along to give you the life you want. You realize that no one is obligated to believe in you, to support you, to make things easier. It's all on you. And strangely, that realization doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you. It gives you the clarity to act with boldness, to move with intention, to stop wasting time and start building your legacy. The moment you accept total responsibility, your excuses start to die. You begin to see that the problem is not the lack of resources, it's the lack of resourcefulness. It's not that you weren't lucky, it's that you weren't persistent. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, what now? That's where transformation lives. The 98% hide behind excuses. The 2% rise above them. They don't need ideal conditions. They make the best out of the worst. They don't need the perfect support system. They become their own support. They stop blaming the past and start building the future. They stop saying someone should fix this and start saying I'll fix it. And because of that mindset, they win. Over time, through storms, through setbacks, they win. So take a look at your life. Be honest. Are you owning it or outsourcing it? Are you blaming or building? Because you can't do both. The 2% chose to take back the pen and write their own story. You can too. It starts with a simple but powerful declaration. No more excuses. No more blame. From this moment forward, I am responsible. The 2% who rise, who truly succeed, who go beyond average and touch greatness, they have one thing that the other 98% lack. Relentless consistency. Not bursts of effort, not spurts of motivation, not once-a-week inspiration. Daily, disciplined, sometimes boring. Always intentional consistency. They show up when it's easy. And more importantly, they show up when it's hard. They show up when they're tired, when they're doubting, when the results are invisible. While the rest are chasing highs, they're laying bricks, one by one, day by day, until the wall is unshakable. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they quit. They stop. They get excited, start fast, and then burn out just as quickly. They confuse intensity with commitment. They think motivation is the fuel when in reality it's discipline. The 98% wait for the perfect moment, the right mood, the next burst of inspiration. The 2% build routines, they build systems. They don't ask how they feel. They ask what needs to be done. Success is not a product of occasional greatness. It's a compound interest of small, repeated efforts done with excellence. It's waking up every day and choosing progress over comfort, action over excuses, discipline over distraction. The 2% understand that consistency is not sexy. It's not glamorous. Most of the time, it's repetitive. It's getting up early to train when nobody's watching. It's saying no to temptations that offer short-term pleasure but long-term regret. It's doing the thing you said you'd do long after the mood you said it in is gone. 98% are addicted to new beginnings. They love to start. They love the rush of starting a business, a diet, a project. But when the novelty wears off and the grind begins, they look for the next thing to start. They mistake movement for momentum. They confuse change with progress. The 2% understand that starting is easy. Finishing is rare. They don't chase the feeling. They follow the plan. And because of that, they finish what they start over and over again. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. It's about getting knocked down and still showing up the next day. It's about missing a day, but not missing two. It's about learning to be dependable, not just to others, but to yourself. Every time you show up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. And the more votes you cast, the more the identity becomes real. That's how you build confidence. Not by talking about what you're going to do, but by doing it again and again until it becomes who you are. The world rewards the consistent. The market respects the consistent. People trust the consistent. Think about the most successful people you admire. Not one of them got there by being occasional great. They were consistently present, consistently improving, consistently performing, even when the spotlight wasn't on them. While others were seeking shortcuts, they were mastering fundamentals. While others quit after a bad week, they used the setback as fuel to push forward. Consistency builds credibility, especially with yourself, and self-trust is everything. If you keep breaking the promises you make to yourself, you stop believing in your own potential. You stop setting goals because deep down you don't believe you'll follow through. But when you're consistent, even in small things, you rebuild that trust. You create a new identity, someone who follows through, someone who keeps showing up, someone who gets things done. That identity is more powerful than any motivational speech or temporary inspiration. It's easy to be excited when things are going well. It's easy to show up when you're being praised, when results are visible, when energy is high. But the 2% are consistent even when it's silent, even when they're ignored, even when they're doubted. They don't need applause to keep moving. Their commitment comes from within. They play the long game. They trust the process. And while the 98% are looking for instant results, the 2% are playing chess, not jigged. Strategic, patient, unshakable. There will be days when you won't feel like it, days when you will question the process, days when progress feels invisible. But that's where most people stop. That's the wall that separates average from extraordinary. If you can learn to keep showing up in those moments, you become unstoppable. Because now, you're not just working when it's easy. You're proving that nothing can throw you off course. You don't need to be extraordinary every day. You just need to be consistent. Consistent effort compounds into extraordinary outcomes. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop seems meaningless, but over time it cows through rock. That's the power of consistency. Quiet, persistent, relentless. So make the decision now to stop starting and quitting, to stop relying on hype, to build routines, to create systems that support your goals, to be the kind of person who shows up, not just once in a while, but every day, to commit fully, especially when it's hard, because in the end, success doesn't come to those who work occasional. It comes to those who never stop showing up.